Hi everyone, welcome back for another session of Make It Monday. My family and I just got back from a nice Florida vacation. We went down to Treasure Island, so I am still in miss the beach mode. So today we are going to make a beach themed tumbler together. I'm going to do a glitter tumbler with epoxy. We had a wonderful time in Treasure Island. If you went somewhere cool on vacation or you're going somewhere, just post in the comments below. Let me know where you're going this year. So for this project, we are going to need you're going to need a painted white tumbler. I always start with a white tumbler. I have an assortment of glitters, and these are all available on our site. We have our frosty white. We have a green, like a seafoam blue, mermaid tail teal. It's like golden yellow. And then my favorite, so when I go on vacation, I bring back shells and whatnot. But this year I brought back a bag of sand. So this is actually sand from where we vacationed. And I just added, basically that yellow glitter that we used is for this sand mix. So I've mixed up some sand and some glitter. And that's going to be the bottom part of my cup. And then we have a nice a custom decal here. It's hard to see, but it says "Don't be a salty beach" on it. Little holographic star there, some bubbles, and so we're going to put that on there after we get some of the glitter on. So the first step, I use the epoxy method to do my glitter. So we're going to mix up some epoxy. When you're doing glitter with epoxy, you just want a thin coat, so we don't need a ton on this first layer. We want it super thin, and then I glitter right onto it. So I'm going to grab my little mixing bowl and my stir, and I'm just going to do 5 mLs of each, I think. I don't need a ton. That might even be too much. Probably is, but it's hard to measure down less than 5 mLs. So we'll just do 5 of each. And I'm using my 2-part epoxy, and this is Pro Marine epoxy. That's what I use. And there are links to all of the vendor supplies that I use below the video. So I created a nice handy little page on my website that I've collected. Basically, I just keep as I buy things or find new things to use, I just put links directly to them from my site. So I have 5 mLs of the A, and honestly, I might not even use my mixing bowl. I'm just going to add 5 and more right to that, and I'm just going to mix it in here. I'm going to fast forward this part, so I'm not worried about bubbles or anything on this. It's going below the glitter, so I'm not going to use heat. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to get it stirred up real well, and there's no point, and you guys just have to watch me stir it because it takes a minute or two. So I'm just going to fast forward that part of the video, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my mix epoxy. I'm going to turn on my turner. And what I want to do is just add a super thin coat. And I do this with my fingers. A little goes a long way. And you can feel any dry spots, and if you're shining a light while you're working in your workstation, you can see dry spots, because if it's not shiny, it's not wet. Basically, your whole cup should look wet. That's what we're going for, which just gives the cup a surface for the glitter to stick to. Don't forget the bottom. Make sure you get the bottom and along that seam. All right, so that's looking pretty good there. All right, I'm going to switch gloves real quick. Okay, so I got some fresh gloves. I did go ahead and I wiped out my bowl. There was a little left. It wasn't even enough to do a keychain with. So I do wipe my bowls out and my utensils off with a baby wipe. So they're completely clean and ready for the next time before you let that epoxy set on your tools. You want to wipe them off and wipe them out. Baby wipes work perfect for cleaning them out. Okay, so glitter time. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper here. Catch my glitter. And I'm going to start with the bottom. So I have my sand mixture. So this is actual sea sand and some of that, some of this pretty sunflower yellow. And I'm just going to drizzle it on here, making sure to get the bottom here. And it is a little chunky because it has actual little like shell flakes and stuff in it. But this is real sand. But it will give it some depth and some texture. And I will treat this like I do a chunky glitter. So, I'll go in here and I'll pat it down. Make sure it's sticking real well. Because on these thicker little pieces and stuff, it's hard. It doesn't grab as easy as like fine glitter grabs. And then I'm going to take my little glitter thing. I'm just going to pour it right back into my measuring cup. I'm just going to go in and just make sure I got any bald spots. Like here's one right here. Sure I got it. If you're not going on a beach trip and you want to do this sand effect, you can buy sand right at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or probably Joann's too, any of your local craft shops. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Just gonna tap any loose ends off and pat these in. I'm gonna sit this aside here. I'm just gonna take this same piece of paper. I'm just gonna shake it off in my garbage can right here behind me. I don't mix the other colors in there. Okay, so then I think I'm going to bounce up to the top with some blue. Sometimes I sprinkle right out of the bag, but today I'm going to put a little in a cup. I don't know, I feel like I get a little more control when I put it in a cup, and it's easier to dump back into when I need to pick it back up. So I'm just gonna start. Now I'm going to be mixing multiple colors together, so I don't want it like a gradient where it's all, or an ombre. I want this mixed up. Down in here is going to be white, so I'm doing the white last. Alright, then I'm going to grab the lighter blue. Get a cup for that one. Can you see me here? It's my little cup. I'm just going to pour a little bit in. Ooh, that came out fast. So I'm trying to hit the white areas that I didn't put the dark blue. I'm not particularly trying to cover up the dark blue, but I'm trying to get the spots where I didn't put any glitter the first go round. So I used all that, so I'll just use this cup for a little bit of green. Not a lot. Just a little bit of green. I'm definitely going to go back in and put some more blue. So I'm kind of just layering all the colors together here. I'm going to grab, I still have some of this darker blue in my cup. Put some more of that on. I don't know how well it looks on the screen, but it sure does look pretty in person. As you can see, I totally forgot to switch my paper, but it's okay, because I have what I call the dump cup, and I will just dump all that glitter in my dump cup, and I use it for projects. So I'm going to get a little more of like the seafoam blue here. And now I'm just making sure all the white's covered. I don't want much of that white showing through. If a little does, it's okay, because it just looks a little foamy, I guess, but a little bit more. And this is still the lighter blue. I am going to go back and put just a little touch of that darker blue again here in just a second. Honestly, I might take this mixed up glitter we got going on here and use it. It's kind of like a blue screen now. Let's fill that in. You know, you can plan a cup all day long, and then once you get in there and start doing it, sometimes the plan changes. Okay. It is super, super pretty. I don't know how well you can see it, but it is super pretty. Let's see if I can make it in a little closer. You can see the hints of the greens, the light blue, the dark blue. It's looking pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. So now, I'm just going to throw this in my dump cup. See, this is my dump cup. I just add all kinds of glitters in there, and then normally if I make mermaid tails and different things like that, I'll use this dump cup up. All right, shake off my paper. Let's do some white. And this I'm just going to pour right out of the bag. And this is such a pretty iridescent white. So pretty. Like some whites have lots of pink in it. This one does not. I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to put a little more blue. Right where the white meets. That white just looked like a little too big of a wipe stripe for me. So I'm just going to blend it in a bit with a little more blue. There we go. Let me zoom in for you here. Super shiny, super glistening. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to let this dry probably 4 or 5 hours or so, and then I'm going to come back in and put a coat of epoxy to give us a smooth layer to add our decal. So our decal will go in here, and it'll pop really well off of that. It's gonna look awesome. So we're gonna pause for now, let it dry, and we'll be back for some more epoxy here in a little bit. Hi everyone. So we are back, and we let our cup dry. I actually let it dry overnight, so it's dry. All the glitter's stuck on there. So now what we're going to do is put a nice flood coat on there. With glitter cups, I always do a thick coat on top of them, so I don't have to sand and do 2 coats. I try to do one nice thick flood coat before I put on my decals, and then we'll have one last topper coat on top of our decals. So we're going to mix up some epoxy. I'm going to do, let's see, probably 20 mLs total. So I will be mixing 10 mLs of each, both A and B. Let's see. That in my little tub. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I like to heat up part A before I mix in part B. So I'm going to speed this process up. I'm going to warm part A by 10 mLs of part A. I'm going to warm it up to a thin consistency. Then I'm going to add in 10 mLs of part B. Then I'm going to mix it all together till it's clear, and then we'll be ready. So I'm going to fast forward this process, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have our mix-up epoxy. It's perfectly clear, nice and thin. And I use the hand method to apply my epoxy. So I'm just going to start with a thin layer first. Okay, so I need more epoxy. This didn't cover quite as much as I thought it would. This glitter's soaking it in. So I'm actually going to quickly mix up another batch. I'm going to do the same thing, 10 mLs of each, and I think that will give it a nice flood coat. So I'm going to fast forward this real quick. I should have mixed up more, but I didn't. So I'm going to mix up another quick batch, and we'll be right back. I'm actually, so if you've watched my other videos, when I do epoxy, I normally do a thin coat, and then I hit it with my torch, and then I do a top coat. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this real quick with my torch. And that gets rid of any of those air bubbles that are on that first little layer. And I'm just going to do a flood coat. And I'm just going to pour this on in a nice thin stream here. There we go. Now it's covering good, like it should have. I should have mixed up double in the beginning, but it's like super early. I'm super tired. Went to bed at 2 last night working on cups and back up at 5 today. Okay, so then I'm going to hit it one last time with the torch to get rid of any air bubbles on top. And on glitter, you don't see them as much as you do like painted cups, but it's still part of the process here. And I'm not letting the flame doesn't touch this, just the heat from the flame. And it's something in that gas process that pops all those bubbles that you get in there. So there we have it. So I'm going to let this turn at least 8 hours probably before I'm ready to put my decal on it. So it's going to turn all day. And I just wipe up my workspace with a baby wipe when I'm done. Baby wipes are magic. And there we go. So we'll let this turn overnight, or at least 8 hours, and I might get back to it this evening. And then when we come back, we are going to add a pretty little decal on here, and then we'll do one last coat of epoxy and she will be ready to roll. See you in a bit. All right, everyone, so we are back. So my tumbler was all dry, and it did have a few little itty bitty rough spots. So it wasn't 100% perfectly smooth because that epoxy just wasn't quite thick enough. But so there was a couple little rough spots. So when that happens, all you have to do is sand. And what I use to sand, I buy these nice little sandy blocks for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I wet sand. So I make sure I wet my sanding block. I normally do it over the sink. It keeps the dust down and particles down. And so I just made sure to sand me a spot where my decal is going to go, right here in front. And when you do that, you'll see it's not shiny anymore. But don't worry, when you put the next coat of epoxy on, it shines right back up. So here's the decal that we are going to be putting on. And I hope I can do this in one application. So I already put my decal together. So this is actually a 4-color vinyl decal. I have white, teal, gold, and then this iridescent color. So I'm going to, you can see what I'm doing here. Peel my decal off. I buy all my vinyl from US Cutter along with my transfer tape. So I'm going to put it, so when I lay a decal, I kind of almost fold it in half a little bit. And I want to tap down the middle first. So the first thing I'm worried about is the big word, okay? So which is this word salty here. I want to make sure that I get that down good. So I kind of place that down. And then I'm going to come in here and tap in the beach. And then I'm going to go in. Because you have this curved surface, it might not lay exactly. So I gotta work it in little spaces here. Perfect. And then my little starfish guy, he's going to be last. And I just gently take it off. Oh no. Ugh. So glitter vinyl sucks. Just to be honest with you, I have lots of problems getting it to transfer sometimes, and that's what's happening now. There we go. Got it. There we go. I got a little crease in my little starfish guy. I'm just going to take this, gently pick him up, and lay him flat. A piece of transfer tape here that needs to be on there. And there it is. Looks pretty good. So now we have to put another coat of epoxy on this. So I'm going to get my epoxy supplies together and we are going to get this baby coated. Okay, so I use a 2-part A and B Pro Marine epoxy. And I have a few other cups behind us too, so I'm actually going to mix up a bigger batch than what I actually need for this cup. So I'm going to mix a full cup of A and a full cup of B, which is a little over an ounce basically is what it is. And I'm going to start with part A. And if you've ever watched my other videos, which there's a few more on there, you'll know that I like to warm up my part A before putting in with my part B. See, part A is super, it's super thick. It's just thick. So I like to warm it up and think it mixes better with part B. It helps eliminate some of the bubbles. So I am going to actually fast forward through this process. So what I'll do is I'm going to warm up part A till it's thin. And then I'm going to pour in part B. I'm going to stir it till it's clear. And then we'll be ready to put this on the cup. Okay. Sorry. So now we have our mix of epoxy. It's perfectly, looks like watery clear. So I'm going to turn on our churner. So my little bubble-free method is 2 steps. Step 1, you're going to put a thin coat of epoxy, basically like a primer coat on your cup. You're going to hit it with your torch. Then you're going to do a second coat, adding in the rest of the epoxy to have a smooth. All right, everyone. So apparently my recorder stopped recording right as I was finishing up explaining my 2-step epoxy method. So first step was to put a thin coat of epoxy on the cup, which I've done, and hit it with my torch here. Okay. Second step is to pour a second coat on. Start at the bottom, let a little run over the bottom there. And my little delay, my epoxy already started heating up. As soon as the two parts of epoxy are warmed together, they start processing. Apparently I was out of storage on my phone and I had to pause and delete some crap my kids had put on their vacation, move some photos. But you can see it's already starting to like kind of thicken up on me. So hope this guy turns out as it should. It still should be okay. Add a little bit more in here to make sure my vinyl is completely covered. Oh my goodness, that was a loud scream. I think my children might be murdering each other. It's okay, I'm just gonna keep on crafting, right? I have all boys, so there's a lot of roughhousing, fighting, crying, trying to murder each other in my house. I feel like every day, all day, they're fighting. But you know, surprisingly, for 15 hours in the car, they were wonderful little saints, which I can't believe. Okay, so now I'm going to hit it one more time with my torch to get rid of any bubbles. And this actually might help warm up the epoxy a little bit. Make it flow again, because it was starting to get a little thick from sitting in my cup while I figured out video difficulties. All right. So there we go. So I am going to let this turn another 8 hours or so. I mean, the wait is awful, isn't it? And then we'll be back in the morning to see what we've got. Hey everyone. All right, so I got the cup off the turner. It turned out awesome. It is perfectly smooth, no bubbles. There was a little itty bitty bit of epoxy inside the rim. And to get rid of that, I just take my little X-Acto knife and I literally just kind of scrape the inside, pop it off, wash the tumbler, put the lid on. It is good to go. So this one turned out really good. The colors are nice. Epoxy covered great. So I am going to have this kit for this cup on my website. So in the kit, you'll get all the glitter we used today. We have the green. We have 2 different shades of blue, the yellow, and the white, along with the decal that we have on there. So this one says, "Don't be a salty beach." I don't know if you can see it a little better. So this is like a 3-tone vinyl decal, and that'll come in your kit with this. So if you like this tutorial, hit the like button. If you're not currently a subscriber, please do subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. We drop new videos every single Monday. And if you want to engage and get closer and talk to us, I do have a Facebook group you can join where we have daily conversations and different things about crafts, cups, whatever. So we would be happy to have you. So thanks for joining us, and I will see you next Monday.